Okay, today's video, we're going to talk about running a contest or a game through your PPC ads, or to use as an offer for your PPC ads, particularly on Facebook, but this can also be used on any other place that you can run display advertising online, Google Display Network, and what have you, to be able to make good money through Facebook and through these other online advertising channels. Specifically, what this looks like is you put together a basic game or contest at your company, and then instead of advertising your product or service that you want to ultimately sell, you advertise the game or contest that you're running, and of which, if you win this contest or game, you get the item or service that you're selling. Of course, this certainly works better for products than services, but it certainly could work for either or. The reason for being able to and want to actually put together a game or a contest for your offer that you're going to have, or ad, if you will, for your Facebook campaign or your other online advertising campaign, is because, well, certainly it works, but you got to be able to come out with something that's going to really capture the user's attention in order to get good high click-through rates on your ads, which translates into low cost per click, high ROI on your campaigns. I'm going to give you a few examples of different contests and games that we've ran for other clients' companies here. Of course, the clients ran the game/contests. We ran the PPC campaigns for them, having a PPC agency here, and we could go over the exact results that they're getting as an idea to put together a game or contest for yourself, and then base and power a PPC campaign promoting that game or contest to get similar results for yourself and your own company. So with that said, too far often, people are trying to market boring businesses with no special offer, or if you will, no special plan. If they sell cars, for instance, which we're going to get into, what do? They put the stupid ass, boring ass cars that they have for sale through their advertisements. Oh, we have a Buick Skylark for sale. It's this price. If you are in the market for a Buick Skylark, nobody gives a shit specifically, we'll just say. And even if you are looking to buy a car, of course, so first of all, the chances are you want that exact car is slim to none, because you could want one of 100 different types of cars, as we know. But beyond that, even if I did want the Skylark, unless you're going to be sleazy, and what a lot of these car dealerships will do nowadays to get ahead is they'll mark the price way lower than what it is to get your attention, get you in the door, so that you'll basically be sold on something else. They'll say, oh, that car's already been sold. And it's a total scam, by the way. This is very common. But you don't have to be all sleazy like that in order to have something to market that will get somebody at the door at a high rate at a cheap cost. You just got to be a bit more creative than everybody else. If you do what everybody else is doing, you get everybody else's results. A game or a contest that revolves around cars and what you're selling is a lot better route to go than just simply try to be cheaper than anybody else and then promote that in your advertising, and the numbers show it, which I'm going to be able to show you on this particular video. Well, that actually, actually marketing a boring business and just, here's my product, here's my service, do you want to buy it? That actually works perfectly fine on Google search, as long as, or if you're talking about display advertising, i.e. non-search engine advertising, if you want to be able to get that to work and scale past what Google search and Bing search campaigns can deliver for you, you need to think outside the box and come up with a killer offer to market in that ad, and to 10x your sales, or basically 10x the sales you're getting past the search engines advertising and what the search engine advertising can deliver for your company. So in other words, the rules that apply to Google search advertising does not apply to Facebook ads and other online display advertising. On Google search, you can just say what it is, make it easy to understand what you're offering, and what's the price and what's the benefits, and can you be trusted and all that. On the display campaign side, the user's usually reading an article or looking at funny photos or watching other videos or whatnot. You got to come with something that's so damn compelling that they're willing to stop what they were doing, which was already entertaining. They were doing just fine with it. You interrupted them, which pisses them off to begin with by default, and to completely stop what they're doing and take part of what you have. If you think about it from that perspective, the whole idea of just saying, I have a Buick Skylark here for sale for $17.95 is such a bullshit offer and way to go about doing advertising that you have to basically admit to yourself, how the hell can this even work anyway? And therefore, Facebook ads can work. I'm just not doing it right, basically. We actually had a video where I went over earlier about another game/contest that we had put together that the client put together for his mattress store. And specifically with that, it was a basketball game where if you made so many of these baskets in so much time, you were able to get a free mattress. And why this is actually really good is because obviously with what you win as a mattress, you wouldn't come in and play this game if you didn't need a mattress. If your mattress was good enough, you wouldn't come in. Of course, some people would like the free mattress anyway, but for the most part, a majority of the people that would come in and try to play this game and win it were doing it because they need a mattress or whatnot, and it was time to basically get one. So with that, we took Facebook ads and we marketed that actual game. The key thing with all this is we're not marketing mattresses, we're not marketing cars, we're not marketing the product or service itself. We're marketing the game or contest to get the user's attention so that the ad doesn't look so much like an ad anymore, which is the key to get display advertising to work. If your ad doesn't look like an ad, or the more that your ad doesn't look or seem like an ad, the more it's going to basically work. Why is that? Because people are trained to psychologically scan and block out ads from being in their mind, and to use their precious calories and processing power of their mind to interpret ads when there's ads all around them all the time. And if they actually deeply thought about every ad they saw, they would waste a lot of energy, taking all that in. So in order to get to where your ad will work, given that you're basically paying for every time that ad's displayed, they call it pay-per-click advertising, but if your ad doesn't get clicked at a high rate, your cost per click goes up proportionally, which means you're just paying for every time the ad shows. If you're not good at tricking the user into initially seeing the ad and saying, is this an ad or is this not an ad? If they can say, I don't know, or if you can't get them to say, I don't know for a high percentage of the time, enough time to get your pitch in, then you're not going to probably make the ad pay for itself after all your expenses and the cost of the ad and the cost of doing business and so forth. And so you got to get good at coming up with these offers. One just really good way to do it is come out with these contest/giveaway offers, particularly for local businesses like brick and mortar businesses, but this again can be done for anything. And so with that said, you're going back to what I was saying before, you market the actual giveaway. So that's the offer itself that gets the user's attention to be tricked into thinking this is not an ad. They think it's cool. And then once they're interested, you got their interest. Once you could take that interest basically and turn it into, interest into your product or service, but you don't lead with the product or service. You lead with something that they're genuinely interested in, which is why content marketing works so good for all the people that do that. They do that because you're actually leading with value. Or in this case, instead of doing content marketing, if you're selling a mattress, most people don't give a shit about content about mattresses, even if they want one, even though you could do some things like best mattress for side sleepers just recently ranked, and if you're a side sleeper you may want to see that. But for the most part, a lot of cases, these contests can actually be better than that because it's even more desirable by the user if you could come up with a novel enough game, because it really is kind of interesting / cool to see somebody doing that, given basically nobody does it anymore. And it just isn't something you see people doing like I used to see it back in the day at different fairs and different things that we would go to. Different companies were doing this all the time, but currently, as it sits, not a lot of people are doing it. And as it comes to online marketing, people think, for the most part still, because it's still new, the rules that used to apply to marketing to get people's attention at a low cost doesn't apply to online marketing, and the rules have not changed. It's just a different channel, and the same stuff works. And so if you could take something, the old school stuff that worked really well and just apply it online when nobody else is doing it, that's a clear path to riches, as it has been for our own business. Nobody's doing sending out direct mail and letters in the mail. Nobody's doing that. You do it now. We win. Given people stop doing that. Anything else that used to work that people aren't doing, in other words, you tap into that, you'd be quite surprised what it can do. These contests / giveaways are stuff that you don't see as much anymore. I mean, of course, people were doing on Facebook, get a free iPad, but that's stupid in comparison to giving away the product or service you're trying to sell, because everybody wants a free iPad. You're trying to generate interest for your product or service, and you can do that by giving away that product or service and tie it into not just giving it away, but tying it into an interesting, engaging contest in which people naturally like to involve themselves in those because they're exciting to people. It's similar to if you go to a carnival. How much money are people willing to spend on a game in order to win a stuffed animal, which, frankly, it's probably cost the carnival owner $1, and you're betting $3 to win a $1 stuffed animal, and we all know that those games are rigged so that you'll spend $30 or $50 to try to win it before you give up, and probably still don't win it. Why is it in those situations that people are willing to give all their money away? Because it's fun for the challenge of trying to win. And so if you can incorporate the funness of that type of contest into something that you can craft around within your own business and then advertise that, and then the price, instead of being a stuffed animal, can be your product or service, now you've got a very inventive way to gather attention around your product or service at a very low cost. Low enough cost that you can make money after you pay for the ads to get that contest out there and giving away whatever you're going to give away in terms of that product or service as well. So to give you a real good example of this is done with a car dealership that we were working with. And specifically with that, we ran an offer giving away a new car lease for anyone registering for a test drive and had qualified credit. So specifically what this looked like, it was a raffle. Going back to what I said before, I was the one who brought this up. Back in the day, it just made, if I was a local business like a car dealership, I would be running these raffles and then advertising the raffles in terms of those. Back in the day when I was a kid, I'm from Iowa originally. I live in Phoenix now, but they had the fair every year, and we lived in a small town. And they used to have all these booths, and most of the booths, to get people's attention, would have like a big jar of M&Ms. And in that jar of M&Ms, they would say, register. If you can guess how many M&Ms are in this jar, we'll give you this cooler. But in order to guess, you had to put your name on a slip, and now they had your name on a mailing list that they can contact you. So basically for free, or of course divided, the cost of the booth was so much, and they had to divide the cost of the booth by the amount of registrants they got. But it was a very effective way to build a huge mailing list for very, very cheap cost. Cheaper than of course sending out an offer saying, would you like to be contacted about new windows or whatever, you know what I'm saying. Of course, it also gets people to be live pitched on the spot in addition to that, and could sell some people like that as well. And so they didn't go, hey, you're ready to buy some windows. I said, no, guess how many M&Ms are in this jar? So it's all we're doing here is doing the same thing, or what we did here is what you should do. We're just doing the same thing as that, and just bringing it into a format of Facebook or another banner ad that we can run online somewhere. In the car dealer's example, and this is where you want to, if you can, or where it would still make sense, or would still keep the level of excitement around what you're trying to gather in terms of the user's excitement to get the user's attention. If you could do something tailored to your market or business, it would be better. In this particular case, we took keys. We put the keys into a jar in a similar fashion as like with the M&M example I gave you. And we said, if you can guess how many keys are in this jar, you're going to get the lease for the car for 2 years already. For free, totally for free. All you got to do is just know, you got to guess how many keys are in the jar. The 2-year lease is you're going to get it. And you can be on any car that you are going to come in and test drive. The caveat is that you have to have good credit so that we're not just getting a bunch of people that we can't sell a car to, so that if they're coming in, anybody could say yes to a car today on the spot. And with that, Facebook lead ads, by the way, they're my favorite ad type now. When we're talking about running display advertising, Facebook lead ads are amazing. Why? Because on Facebook, you can get somebody, if you don't know what they are already, to fill out a contact form without even leaving Facebook, which it just, the cost per form registrant you're going to get is way, way less. We're talking a half or a third of the cost than having somebody go to a web page and then fill out a form there. Even if the web page is very, very good, very, very simple, it still will kick the shit out of, or a Facebook lead ad will still kick the shit out of a very good landing page. So you can have an ad like we had for this car dealership where it has a picture of basically the ad's photo is, the single image photo is a picture of the jar with all the keys in it. And again, we're not saying anything about trying to sell them a car at all up front. We're just saying, can you guess how many keys are in here? Guess how many keys are in here? Win a free 2-year lease to, any car in the dealership. And of course, to guess, fill out the form here. Then they had to go and fill out the form. They had to put their name, email address, phone number, and then information itself, mentioning enough information that they could basically go out there and find out information about that person enough. They also had to claim that they you have good credit or not. Obviously, in order to totally guess and look up their credit, they would need their social security number, and you can't ask for that necessarily on a Facebook ad. I mean, you could, but it's not going to be easy to get, even if you are a trusted local company like this one would be. But they just had them, say that they, do you have good credit, yes or no? And then, of course, they had to, if they did not mark yes, they're not qualified, basically. So we got some bad people through because some people would obviously lie. And with that, then of course they guessed. And so in order to be able to be eligible to guess, they had to fill out this form. And by filling out the form, we got all their information. That information now can be obviously given to marketing department to send out newsletter or any other direct communication that we do with our marketing list. We could give it to our salespeople as cold or slightly warm leads. But more so, we're doing it to try to get people, of course, to come in on their own now. To come in, because part of the deal, if you will, is they have to come in and test drive the car. And with that, whatever it was set up, so whatever test or car that you had to test drive, or we're going to test drive, I should say, if you picked how many keys were in that jar correctly, that would be the car you got the lease on. Okay? So with that, they basically have set everything up here to be able to get the test drive from the person from the car that they actually would have wanted if they were to get the free lease, if you will. So they come in, get and take the test drive. Then the salespeople there got a crack at their business, and a certain percentage of them closed, some of them didn't. Just like any other person that shows up in the lot trying to buy a car. And so I will admit, of course, in order to get this to work well, we had to have some assistance from the salespeople. If somebody just filled out the form saying they're going to come in, and then we just waited for them to come in, there'd be a much lower rate of people coming in. But when that information, where we have their phone number, salespeople can call them and ask them, hey, are you going to come in? Are you going to come in? Are you going to come in? The results are much better. The numbers are much better. And it basically, as it pans out, pretty much needed to do that to get it to be profitable. Without that, it's not profitable anymore. And so when you do this, you have to watch all your numbers. But having the number of registrants there and then know how many people came in for the test drive mentioning the offer, if you will, and what their name is, and matching that up with the Facebook lead ad form information, we know how many people came in. And then from those people, we can see how many people closed, how, ultimately how much we made in terms of gross revenue, the net profit, and then net profit minus the cost of the ad spend and then the cost of the free lease. And we could see if this is actually feasible for us. As it comes to this particular company, this local car dealership, it worked out to around $17 a submission to that form, which is kind of high for something like this. But then again, we're asking people with good credit. If we were asking for anybody, that would have been much cheaper. But we want to, obviously we got some bullshit leads in there. But for the most part, it was mostly the correct information. And I attribute part of that to, they know potentially themselves that they lie and then they win. It would be a waste of time. You wouldn't be eligible for the prize. So most of the people still had good credit, even though we couldn't prove that before they registered and came in itself. $17 a submission to the form itself. Okay, that's just the submission from the ad that asked them to guess how many keys are in that jar in order to get a free 2-year lease on the vehicle of choice, and having to come in and test drive that vehicle in order to, in addition to filling out the form, to be eligible for that, to guess, and when you're guessing how many keys, to be able to also enter, if you will, that contest. So with that, around 40% of the people that had filled out the form itself showed up for the test drive. And that's also after the salesperson had to follow up with people that filled out that contact form, which is a high amount or high percentage, but I would say that the amount of people coming in should have been probably 10% or something like that, very low, if the salespeople didn't follow up the people who filled out this form. They were sitting around already waiting for people to come in. Why not just have your salespeople call those people up and make sure your show up rate, if you will, is pretty high, or high enough to make the financial stuff, the financial end of this campaign and the economics of the campaign work. Of the 40% that showed up, 8% they got to buy a car, which is obviously really good. As it comes to, if you aren't familiar with the car dealership industry or selling stuff like that, they can usually get about 1 in 5 of the people to buy a car that comes in, which is, obviously a 20% close rate. So this is about a third of the normal close rate they would get. But surprisingly, even though that person obviously didn't come in on their own, they still got a decent close rate on somebody. And I certainly attribute that to how the game and the contest was structured, in that they want a lease. They had to mention the car that they wanted a lease on to win. Therefore, that's the one they're test driving. So we already know that they want this type of car. And then, ultimately at that point in time, all we have to do is get them to be a little bit impulsive at that point in time. And this is what the salesperson's job is. For that matter, if they come into the lot on their own, it's not that much of a difference, because most of those people that come in to look at a car, they're not coming there to buy. Some are, most of them still aren't. So that salesperson's got to take somebody with fleeting interest into making an impulse buy. So in that, somebody's going to come in a test drive in order to potentially get that car for free, and that has good credit and can buy, to get them to flipped over to, wasn't really like, not even fleeting interest, but basically very minimal interest, turning that into real interest. They were able to, they weren't successful a lot of the times, but they were successful enough to make this campaign, feasible, profitable, all that. So how does that actually work out in terms of the numbers? Now, at a $17 cost per form fill on the Facebook ad campaign we ran, 40% rate of people showing up roughly, and then 8% sales rate on the people who did show up. That works out to $42.50 per test drive in terms of advertising cost. And then that works out to $531.25 per sale in terms of advertising cost to get the sale. And so that in itself is about a 25% profit margin, 25% marketing cost in terms of, because they're going to make a couple $1,000s on the car. They're making spending about $500 in advertising cost to get the sale. which is an acceptable percentage of how much you're getting in terms of the profit spent on advertising for a car dealership like that, or any car dealership to be able to accept. So you could literally use this exact offer I gave you here and get similar numbers for the most part, no matter where you're at, because the user psychology, human psychology at play here is not going to be that much different market to market. Now I didn't mention though the free lease. The reason why most people aren't going to do this, or haven't done it I should say, even though I'm sure thousands of car dealerships have thought about this at one time or another, how am I going to be able to offer a free car lease and have this all pan out? And the great thing about the contest thing, which I didn't think of this has been done for decades and decades before us. I mentioned at the yearly fair that I went to with the M&Ms in the jar, that in the keys in the jar, you got to have a big enough jar to where it's going to take a lot of people for them to guess right. And if too many people are guessing right, you just make the jar bigger. So we needed basically a couple thousand keys in that jar in order for it to pan out to where enough people aren't going to win. And ultimately, if only one person won out of 1,000 guesses, the math works out to we're only paying $6 in terms of what it costs in terms of the value of that car lease per registrant, okay? And and so as it comes to it taking about 2.5 registrants to get to show up, and then another basically 12 people, or of the people showing up, about 12 of those people in order to get a sale, we're talking about another $200 in terms of cost in the eventual car lease that we're going to give out for free, added into this 531 to make the real cost of having the overall offer, if you will, done. And so still way within the bounds. You just, in other words, just get something that, again, that it's going to take about 1,000 guesses in order for somebody to guess right. And then you're good. And if that math doesn't work out, put a few more items in your jar and to where it will work financially and economically for you. So that's basically it. And a couple thousand keys for this particular offer was high enough for it to still be profitable to run. And this offer great thing about this offer and other offers like it is it's going to be evergreen. You can run this and run this and run this. Of course, if the same people see it, it's not going to work anymore. But any new people who haven't seen it yet, it'll just keep working. So to a degree, for like a car dealership, it will only work till every person basically that's eligible sees it. But what we typically will do is just run this at a low budget, and basically so it can kind of just run over time consistently and bring in a trickle of leads all the time. And then of course, this is what I've witnessed, even though technically after someone's seen an ad about 7 times, the ROI of having your ad show up for more times than after the 7th time that someone has seen your Facebook ad will go down and down the more times that they actually see it. The ROI goes down further and further the more times that they see it. With that, if somebody sees this offer, given this offer is so good, and they see it again a few months later, the results are actually not that bad. It's just when somebody sees it over and over again within a shorter time span, at least when you're talking about good, entertaining offers like this. So you could set the budget real low to where they see the offer, and then particularly as you mix up these offers, you don't have to have the same contest. You can run the contest, and then 3 months from now, same person who saw the ad before, or a few times, they see another contest that's going on, and then maybe they take part in that one, maybe they don't. And so in that, it is an evergreen offer because you can just keep coming out with similar contests. You don't even have to change anything. It can just be the same ad with the same jar. You're changing and saying, Emily Smith won the last one. Are you going to be the one that wins this one? And then just run it again. And so if you keep it at a low enough budget to where you're not really just sucking all the life out of your general market and area right away with that ad, and you keep updating the contest, if you will, then you could keep running this indefinitely. I can tell you from past experience here, if you are a car dealership, you run a car dealership or a marketing manager at a car dealership and you want to try this, if you have a audience, potential market audience size of 1 million people, you could run a brand new offer like this every about 3 months, or a new contest every 3 months, because you're going to get about 1,000 signups in that 3 months time. It's a very, very popular offer, and it gets a ton of people to engage. And of course on Facebook, because it's a game and this isn't just a sales pitch, people will share this, people will comment on it, people will engage in the comments, all kinds of stuff. And all the shares that you get, that's all free traffic. So it works like gangbusters. If you're a car dealership, you should definitely try this. But as you can see here, you could do this and apply this to about anything. You could be selling medical equipment to hospitals, and you could do technically the same thing, even though it seems like a little cheesy, but I can assure you everybody likes this kind of stuff. All you got to do is get the right target audience could be benefited by the product. You still got to get that right. But with that, of course, how much work is it to enter in a form for 2 seconds to be able to guess and potentially get this? Of course, they may have to talk to a salesperson in order to, be able to apply, if you will, in order to make the whole thing work. But it's not that hard, as you can see here, or it doesn't cost that much. Still, in order to get somebody to even be willing to come in as a part of the requirements to actually apply. But in some circumstances, you may not need somebody to come in or even sign up for a sales pitch or like an online video sales pitch where you're doing it like a Zoom sales pitch, or having them come into your business to agree to a sales pitch there in order to have the whole thing work. You could just have the form build basically a marketing list that you use the marketing list to get all your business from then on. Because there's so much value then in itself just right there. For a lot of businesses, that's all you need. You don't need to have them say that they're going to come in for sure. They could come in on their own, which in this next example, I'm going to show you that's exactly what we did. In this particular circumstance, this is like a bar / nightclub. It wasn't a real nightclub, but it's a bar where younger crowds would basically come in and hang out. And myself, being a person who loved to go to the bars and get trashed all the time when I was in my early 20s, and let's face it, before that, I understood the psychology of the people that come into those type of bars. So again, like I said, this works great for local businesses, but don't be all held up on the fact that my examples here both are just for local businesses, because just try it, okay? But for this bar had, one thing I always try to do when a new client comes to me and asks how to get PPC working for their business, I don't just think about like Google search or Facebook ads and like that. That's like, and just think of that by itself. I look at, okay, what other marketing have you done, and try to see other aspects and offers that work there to try to apply it to like online stuff. But I also think about, okay, makes your business unique? Why do people come in? What do they do there? So on and so forth, and try to use that to work into a campaign to get people's interest based upon data that you already have that we can just borrow and put into the campaign and not have to do all this guesswork figuring out a pitch that's going to work. And so this bar had one of those, I'm sure you've all seen it if you've been to very many bars, a punching machine, where they have a machine basically, and they're actually pretty popular now. Where they have like looks like a speed bag for boxing, but it's this inflated bag that hangs from this machine, and you're supposed to punch it. And this machine ranks how hard that you've punched that basically airbag, if you will, and it'll rank from like 300 to 1,000 or whatnot. And obviously for females, they're not going to be moved by that, but for guys, it's highly compelling. I have to see how hard I can punch. And then, of course, they want to compare to their friends and all that. And so with that, because I'm trying to look for what's an effective way to run a Facebook ad that's going to get people's attention. And again, like I was saying before, not look like an ad. And so I was thinking, why can't we turn this into a game that we move online, if you will, or a game that we can run in the bar that can go online in our ads. And with that, the offer actually was punch higher than 900, drinks are free for the whole night. And again, this freaks out people because they say, oh, I don't want to be able to pay. But so I said, okay, let's just think about this. What's the average score that people are going to get? Okay, what do they normally don't get over? Let's ask people that would know there. Once we figured out, basically nobody gets over a 900, given 1,000's the highest. We're talking about like maybe less than 2 or 3%. If we said if you get over a 900, you get free drinks for the whole night, you're basically not going to be paying that out, or so little that it doesn't matter. It's a non-factor. So with that was what we put in the ad. And for the average person who's not there, they don't know that the 900 is not achievable. It's the same idea as the carnival thing that we were talking about before. The person paying $3 to get the big stuffed, a lot of times they'll have a huge stuffed animal, and for $3, if you just toss the ball in the basket, you win it. But they don't tell you, you could try that fucking game 1,000 times and you ain't gonna win, no matter if God comes down here and helps us. So it's kind of this, it's the same concept as that. I don't agree with ripping people off here. That's not what I'm saying. But you can actually reasonably work out without being an actuary here, what's the statistical likelihood that somebody's going to win this game, and how hard do I need to make it so that at the end of the day, the sales I'm going to get from the additional traffic will pay for some people to win, and not like the carnival, the carny people that are just scammers essentially. So with that, over 900, it's doable. It's not impossible. That was on the ad. And again, I love Facebook lead ads, so that's what we used here. You had to fill out the form in order to be able to apply. So we're not asking people to come in and do a sales pitch or anything. We're just asking people to fill out the form. The form, though, in this particular instance, is the value. It's where we're building the email list from and the text messaging, or i.e. phone number list from, to do text message marketing with that person forever after, once they filled in this little thing. So in order to apply, you have to fill out the form. You may show up, you may not, but you can't just show up and play without filling out the form first. And of course, again, if you keep tabs on how many forms you get, you can see how many people are ultimately showing up and doing this. I can tell you that we were paying about $8 a form submit to get those leads. And respectively, $8 in order to get somebody potentially to come in is actually kind of expensive if you're just looking at the initial transaction of what people are paying. Most of these bars and stuff, the average business out there isn't good at marketing, and if they were, they would be rich, because that's basically what divides the rich business owners versus the ones that are not. The ones that are genius at marketing. For a bar, they're going to be saying, $3, long neck beers or $2 cocktails. And that's like, who cares? Everybody's doing that. That's not going to get my attention. I don't give a shit. It's like barely on my radar in terms of deciding if I'm going to come into your bar or somebody else's bar that I normally go to. And probably if I don't know your bar, that's just simply not enough. So you have to pay, generally speaking, probably a decent amount in order to have something good to offer somebody, to get somebody in. And this contest really stands out on social media. It's the type of content that's going to get people engaged. You could say you have your first drink for free, but that's still not nearly as engaging as saying, you think you're tough? Come in and beat the last night's record of the 900 punch score, and we will give you all the drinks you want for the rest of the night for free. Just fill out this form, come in, let us know who you are, and you give it a shot. You win, you get the drinks. You pay $8 in order to get the chance for them to come in. In reality, only about 30% will even show up after that. But you've captured their name and their phone number, what we can do from here is we can email them, we can text them for a long, long time. And as it comes to in this particular market, if somebody's going to come into your bar, of course, people can go to Google and they can type in bars in my area, and that's one way to do it. But mostly you want to go to the bars that are happening, they're popping, what people say are good bars to go to. And more specifically, and this is something that I know from when I was younger, you want to know the bars that are specifically busy at that specific time. So with the text message list, I told them, I said, you should be taking these text messages and just, it's going to cost some money. It might cost, a few bucks to get somebody to fill out a form to give you their information. But once you have that on Friday night, on Saturday night, when you want people to come in, you could take, a photo of the place being busy, and you could say, XYZ Club is actually, it's on fire right now. You should come in. And then because they got that text at 10 o'clock at night while they're at another bar that's dead, now they know exactly where to go to. And you've got somebody that's going to come in, and that didn't cost you anything. And when it's not busy, you should say, come in, first drink is free. But because it's so well timed, you're sitting in another bar with your phone, because you're bored, you're looking at your phone, you get this text, and text gets such a high open rate, you've got a very high chance that person's now going to come to your bar with all their friends. And so you could keep doing that every Friday and Saturday night forever because you got their phone number and you're able to do that. The main nights you make money in the bar business is Friday and Saturday nights because that's the time where you bring all your friends in. And so when we ran this offer, by the way, we offered that you had to come in on a Friday or Saturday night to do it, which that little tweak is the difference between it being kind of profitable and very profitable. So, and that's stuff that you're going to have to figure out when you run your game for your business, if you will, or contest, to make sure that the economics of what you're doing work out. But, anyway, so we got the phone numbers. We could text that person every weekend, Friday and Saturday night, with one of those main two different ways to do it. There's also other stuff that they would do, but those are the two really good ways to get response. When you get your list big enough in that situation, just by sending one text out saying we're busy, you should be able to get 100 people in your door. That's how powerful this stuff. And I don't know exactly what the response rates were when we were building this up, but it worked. It worked extremely well. And so instead of just thinking about how can I get a transaction, how can I get a mechanism so that on demand I can get business in the door? And that's how and why you should be looking at how can I build a list versus how can I get a customer in the door. Specifically, on the email side, what we did was we had just an email newsletter that went out once a month, which Dan Kennedy, the famous copywriter, had spoken for years on, if you know who that is, they spoke for years on newsletters and how powerful they are. It gets loyalty from the customer. But typical newsletters are so much bullshit. They're just like, oh, we are having, ladies' night this night or whatever. And it's just the same crap that everybody else says. But what does everybody want nowadays? They want to get on social media to see pictures of their friends. So what I told them is, why don't you have moments that in the bar where you're recording different moments of certain things that are going on, put that in the newsletter so they could see potentially their friends in there, or they can see like what are other people that are going to the bar that I might know, or they're in there, and like what kind of cool stuff's going on. So like videos, photos of inside the bar instead of that stuff. And that actually was, you're shooting for content that people actually want in that newsletter to actually digest. So when they get the newsletter, they're happy and glad they got it. So they did that on the email side, and that built up a lot of loyalty. If you go there, you might get a newsletter. And of course, if you haven't been there in a while, you can see what's been going on lately. Is there a lot of, hot chicks that are there lately? Or is there a lot of, for girls, is there a lot of hot guys going there lately? So keep tabs on it. And so they did that as well. At the end of the day, it cost about $8 to get a phone number and an email address. Of that, we did track about how many people were actually coming in to punch that airbag on the punching machine versus the number of submits that we were getting. Only about 17% showed up, roughly speaking, when we did calculate it once. And of that, though, we were getting 5 to 10 in that kind of range of new customers a week coming in from that ad offer. We knew because obviously they were coming in and saying that they registered and they want to do that. They want to punch the machine. So, and that's not counting all the friends that they brought with them, like I said, which is the real bonus. So you have a shot at 5 or 10 new loyal returning customers each time somebody comes in. And so you may lose money on the first time that you have to do this, and the second and the third time they come in. What you do is you build up your bar business so it's so good so that if they come in, the chances are you have at least a 10% chance of having a lifetime customer, and that's where the money is made. So that you could spend a decent amount of money to get someone in the door, and then the quality of your service carries you the rest of the way. Bars, restaurants are all like this. People want, if you're expecting to have an advertisement that can bring people in for less than what you're, for a cost in terms of what profit you're going to make from them when they come in there should pay for the ads that got them there, it's not going to happen. You'll lose money on the first several transactions. It's all you making money and off your advertising is all predicated on can you get long-term clients and not even seeing the return until they've been there 4, 5, 6 times already. And then after that, it's all gravy. So anyway, it was a good way to get another 5, 10 new fresh faces in the door every weekend. And of that, building a massive email list, massive text list, which the bigger that got, the more effective it was at getting people in the door, every weekend when that text went out, and basically everybody would see those texts and through the emails that I told you, even though not a lot of people showed up directly, and it taking, basically $50 to get somebody to come in, essentially, due to the rate of which people showed up for that, to take part in that actual game or contest, $50 for a email address and phone number in which they have the ability to text, bet they know how to do it the right way that's going to get the user's attention to the text message and aren't saying $3 off tall boys this weekend, which nobody's going to give a shit and they're going to get pissed off you're texting them. The $50 pays for itself. Ultimately, for the next 3 years that they're going to still be going to bars every weekend, they're still in that age bracket, you have an opportunity to get their attention every Friday and Saturday night for the next 3 years just for $50. And that's how it works. And of course, if you're doing good in terms of the delivery of that service, and food and drink there, they're going to start coming in on their own anyway. So you got to think longer term as it comes to marketing something like that. But what people don't think about is how do I build a list for something like that. Building a list is more powerful in that kind of business than pretty much anything you can do. And to build a list, you don't say, join our newsletter, because nobody fucking cares about that, because they think most newsletters are lame. But if you can get their, you do a lead magnet is what people used to call it in the marketing space. In this case, a lead magnet being a contest and not actually being a piece of content. We can do better than that. We can run an ad for a contest that everybody thinks is novel and cool on Facebook. In terms of what they see on Facebook, it rates right up there as something very interesting that they came to Facebook to want to see. They did see. They're going to share with their friends. Hey, I just signed up for this. We're going to go to the bar. I'm going to see if I can win this, and I'll be able to have drinks all night long. So, I want you to come with me, and you should sign up too. And then they share the ad, and they all sign up. So anyway, you get the general idea and gist of this. You could apply this to a lot of different stuff. And of course, I told you about the basketball game. This is what, in general, you want to think about when you're doing display advertising. You can come out with content to try to get people's attention, email addresses, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, you got to research your market and see what's going to get people's attention at a super high rate. And that is what you want to market on Facebook, on Google Display Network, not your product or service, unless you have a remarkable product or service that people, when they see it, will already be wowed. If you have something boring, like you're selling, customized pens with people so they can put their logo on your pens, nobody gives a shit about that. And if they did want it, they would go to Google at the last second and they would find a company and they would do it. You got to come up with something like this, a contest, get 1,000 lighters just by filling out this form and guessing how many lighters are in this jar. And that's the type of thing, that's the way to go about doing this right. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. I have a lot of videos about other money-making PPC strategies on this channel. So if you want to learn actual actionable advice on how to make money with PPC, this is the best channel you're going to find on YouTube to be able to do that. So I highly recommend subscribing and keep up on the stuff that we're finding work on PPC, as well as the stuff that don't work, to keep up on what's the latest and greatest with Google ads, Facebook ads, and so forth. If you liked the video, I would appreciate it if you would also give it a thumbs up / like. And if you have any questions about anything that I mentioned today, or want to do it for your own business but not quite sure how, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a couple days' time. I have a blog, by the way, at guaranteedppc.com/blog, where I give actual step-by-step advice on how to build PPC campaigns, the way that we build them for our clients here at our firm, in which we have to guarantee results for our clients. So if you're wanting to know on a more individualized basis how to build PPC campaigns that will get results, that is another great resource for you to be able to find info that you're not going to simply find elsewhere on how to actually build campaigns to make money and that work and predictably work. So wanted to make sure you know about that as well. You may find that useful, whereas on this channel we're going at the high level. This is the blog is at a very high level of detail, going into the specifics on how to build campaigns like I shared with you today. As a final thing, I want to share with you as well, we have a brand new program at our firm, PPC firm, Guaranteed PPC. Sorry, I can't get it out today. Where we're offering turnkey PPC campaigns. What is that? That is, we have a multi-million-dollar a year producing PPC account for a client in one market that might be in a foreign country. We can actually apply those same results to the country that you're in and have basically a turnkey business where you're going to get the same exact campaigns, same everything, same landing pages. You'll be able to see the exact results they're getting, and it will plug directly into your business or a business that you want to set up like that, or that you can set up and then simply outsource the work. We have campaigns in the services space as well as in the product space. So if you're struggling to get rich with PPC for your business, contact us. We have all kinds of these working campaigns that you don't have to build on your own and are just working already. And you can just build a business around that. Or maybe if you're lucky, we have it already, pre-built in your market that you simply can just, lease, rent, buy from us, and we'll give it to you. You'll see exactly what you're getting. You won't have to do anything. It plugs and play, baby. So anyway, if you're interested about that, want to know more, contact our firm. We also have that program running as well. Beyond that, I'll wrap it up with that, and hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in my next video where we have another great PPC strategy for you to make some money. See you then.